Hi, welcome to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, where you not only get to taste California Central Coast wines, but you also get to meet the winemakers. And today I have Louisa Lindquist of Verdad Wine Cellars. Is it Verdad or how do you pronounce that?
Well, I say Verdad, but some people say Verdad, and if it was in Spain, it's Verdad. So
Verdad Wine Cellars. I love it.
But it's all good. It's all good. It means truth, good, right, okay, everything's cool. Verdad, you hear a million times a day if you're walking the streets of Spain. It's kind of like, hey, right, good, okay. But the definition is truth.
So I'm going to pour some truth here.
Okay.
This is get into pronunciations again, Grenache.
Correct.
So it's Grenache,
Right.
but you put the Grenache right there on the label. And why? Tell me about that.
Well, I wanted to put Garnacha rather than Grenache because I do specialize in Spanish grape varietals, as well as make a little bit of Cabernet. So this actually has 12% Tempranillo blended into it. And this is all grown at the biodynamic vineyard my husband and I planted in Edna Valley.
So that's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so light and pretty, but the flavor is just intense.
Yeah, it's a cool climate Grenache, so it's got lots of lively wild strawberry flavors. The Tempranillo adds some nice spice. There's no new wood.
It's so surprising because it looks light and fun, but then the flavors just is bold and pretty as well. Like it looks, but it's just abundant with flavor.
Yes,
I love it.
It's light on its feet. It's elegant, but yet it's got deep flavors that stay with you without being heavy or highly alcoholic. And this wine I call my crazy wild teenager wine because it was so beautiful when I was in the tank and I was blending it. I put the Tempranillo into it, bottled it, and then the wine completely shut down. And 1 month it would be really pretty. The next month it would be super sour cherries.
Sounds like a crazy teenager.
Exactly, but it's really come into its own, being about a year in the bottle now. So
it's probably like, I think they mellow out a little bit around 17. So
exactly,
it's not a 13 or 14-year-old anymore.
No, it's on its way to college. Yeah.
Yay. Well, cheers to that. We both have one each of us have one on our way, of kids that are on our way. Each of us have a teenager on their way to college. So Louisa, I have a theory that each winemaker's personality gets infused into their wine. I think it's just inevitable. So if you were to sum up an aspect of your personality in one word that gets infused into your wines, whether they're crazy teenagers or babies or husbands, or what would that one word be?
Okay, wow, that's a tough one. How about...
No pressure. No one's watching.
Stubborn?
I love it. That's good. That's a new one. We haven't had that one before. Stubborn. Well, I'm glad you're stubborn. I would imagine that does help. And maybe I'll segue into this. Being a woman in the wine industry, I mean, really a woman in any industry that's... wine industry in particular has been dominated by men for so many years. I don't see any reason why it would be. Well, it's a physical, and there's definitely the physical aspect to it. But has being stubborn helped you? Has there been times in your winemaking where you had to stick up for what you felt as a woman, that you were being walked over?
Well,
not that women would ever happen to us.
Well, in a way, I suppose, being a minority, I've seen our winery, which it's a collaboration, a cooperative winery. So there's a few different wine labels being made there. When I started in 2000, it was predominantly men, and there's one other woman winemaker there, as well as women that work in the winery. So I've seen that kind of evolve. I mean, it would be like the staff, some of the cellar staff would go running in the at lunchtime, and then would leave their like dirty underwear and socks in the middle of the bathroom, and that doesn't happen anymore because they realize now that there's women there that don't really want to kick that around. So it's become a little more civilized. My husband is also a winemaker, and he's very opinionated, and I've had to be stubborn in kind of adhering to...
He's a big name, too. Bob Lindquist.
Right. He's very, very...
He has quite a reputation.
And he's a great winemaker. Yeah.
And a wonderful person.
And it would have been easy to just follow his lead and do everything that he suggested. So I've had to realize my own style and do what I like to create the wines that really are part of me. And so that's been something that's evolved over time.
And how would you, I would think that would be really a challenge and advantageous to have a husband, have a marital relationship where you're both involved in the same industry. So you both have the same language, you know the same people, You're both on that same rhythm with harvest and pruning, and you're doing things around the same time. So it would be your whole life. How do you find that, this is where I make my decisions and you mind your own business over there. You do your thing. This is mine.
Right. Well,
that's where the stubborn comes in.
Yes, and it evolves also.
Yeah.
You just kind of realize that, I think I depended on him quite a bit when I started in 2000, 2001, 2002, and then I realized that he was really busy, first of all, making over 30,000 cases of wine, and after a while he was just like, not my problem. You decide. But yet when I need him, or if I'm making a blend, I always often like to get his opinion about which he might like better, just to hear his point of view. We don't always agree, and that's kind of fun having that disagreement, or having the confidence to go, okay, I appreciate that you prefer that style, but this feels right to me. So that's been really interesting as well. But you do have to be pretty stubborn. I think where you get that stubborn thread in these wines is that there's a style that is consistent from year to year. Some years it's hard to even bottle the wines because there's so many things going on, and it's a lot of planning, a lot of work, but its persistence pays off, and I think the persistence and the attention to detail and picking and developing a style over the years of how to make wines, and it just evolves, but you need to change also. So it's an interesting profession. I compare it to being a chef, where you only get to make one meal a year. So if you screw it up, it's
you're making
really
a few meals. So how many? We're going to be featuring these 3 wines throughout the month of April. So if you come here to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, you can sit down and enjoy lunch or dinner, and these wines will be available by the glass. They'll also be available as a tasting flight, and then you can taste which ones you enjoy before buying, and then when you want to buy them, they'll be 20% off throughout the month, so just 1 month only. And also online. On our website, winemerchantcafe.com, or shop.winemerchantcafe.com to go directly to the wines throughout the whole month. So even if you're in Texas, we'd be happy to share Louisa's wines with you there. So another question, or another thing I'd like you to share with our friends is how most of the winemakers that I've interviewed, I would say pretty much all of them except for maybe one so far, and I've been doing these interviews for I think 2 years now, stumbled upon becoming a winemaker. Like, they went to college to be an astronaut, and then they became a winemaker. Like, crazy stories of how people fell into this and are happy that they did. But your story, I think, is very different, and I find incredibly fun. You knew you wanted to be a winemaker at the age of 18.
Right.
Can you tell us about that?
That's where the stubborn comes in. I took a gap year between high school and college, and I worked in Yosemite National Park, and I was 18. A lot of my friends were in their 20s and older even, and I kind of became part of a group of really great friends that are still friends today. And they were all drinking wine all the time.
Well, no wonder they're still friends.
Exactly.
Be your friend too.
And it was just like I was trying that, what should I do? What should I do? I don't know. And I just realized how much fun it is to drink wine, and I saw what it added to a group. I was new to drinking, actually, where I was living in New Jersey, and the drinking age was 18, but had just changed to 19, but because my birthday's in December, I got grandfathered in to 18. So even though I was in Yosemite, where technically
really,
I was young, yeah, but I wasn't when I was home. So I just decided that wine was fascinating to me, and how fun would it be to be a winemaker? And I thought, I'll go do my undergraduate in New York, be close to my family, and then go to graduate school at Davis. Well, it turns out that there was a budding wine industry on Long Island. I went to college on the east end of Long Island at Southampton College, and there was a wonderful little wine industry starting on the North Fork of Long Island. And for my senior year, I was able to create a work-study program for college credit to work at the winery, at one of the wineries there, actually the first winery, called Hargrave Vineyards. And I got to prune grapevines, work in the cellar, and kind of just be introduced to everything about making wine.
Free help for them.
Yeah. And I took all the romance out of it right away, because I started.
If you can make it through that first harvest.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I mean, we were pruning grapevines in February. Whoa. On Long Island, where it was literally bitter, freezing cold for 8 hours a day, and it was great, because it did take that wine, it's so romantic, and kind of show me what the harsh reality was. But I stuck to it.
Good for you.
Yeah,
I helped my husband with one harvest and said, okay. That's your thing, not mine.
I know. And I was also working in wine shops, and I worked for an importer, and that's where I became really turned on to Spanish wines, is working in a couple of really beautiful wine shops, and then working for a wine distributor and importer where we worked with a lot of Spanish wine. So I became really enamored with Albarino and Tempranillo and the wines of
What is it
Rioja.
that you like about Spanish wines? Like that, because obviously with Verdad and the wines, the Tempranillo, the Albarino, those Spanish varietals that you have. Mary, you were the first one to bring those to the Valley?
Yes. I was the first one to make a commercial release Albarino in California.
Coast. In all of California. Wow.
In 2000.
Wow.
So
did people think you were crazy?
They did, but that was, the economy was great, and the wines were embraced in restaurants in San Francisco, and things were really excited by like the new and upcoming, and wow, this is fun. So, I had a nice reception from the beginning, and then started making Tempranillo from the 2001 vintage on. But it was, being kind of the first. I don't like to say pioneer. I'd rather say cutting edge visionary.
There you go. I like that.
So certainly has been an uphill battle, because there are a lot of Spanish wines that are less expensive, and when you make wines in California, the real estate is high. Everything is done by hand. It's more expensive to produce wine.
When you're looking at expenses, and then you're also having biodynamic vineyards,
right?
What kind of expense does that add on to your costs?
Well, yeah, the thing with the biodynamic, at first it is very expensive because you're doing everything by hand, and so weeding by hand. A lot of homeopathic sprays go onto the vineyard to try to get the soils really healthy and the whole system.
How many years have you been implementing that?
We started the biodynamic vineyard before we planted it in 2005.
Okay.
4 and 5, we started prepping the soil.
And does it take time to develop the soil to where you really see the effect of it on the wines?
Well, yes, we didn't get certified till 2009, but you're working on creating soils that are really healthy with a high organic content, and you do that by working with beneficial plantings, bringing animals onto the vineyard to fertilize and to help with weeds, and you're really trying to create a vineyard that's not a complete monoculture. And then absolutely no poison is put onto the vineyards, and it's just creating a really healthy ecosystem and vineyard.
Have you, like, as far as adding the cost, would you say that adds like a couple dollars onto every bottle as far as having all that hand?
It does. It does, for sure. And then in addition, we get the vineyard certified, so that's a cost. And the winemaking has to be certified as well if you want to put biodynamic on the label, which people don't realize. Because people talk about, oh yeah, it's biodynamic, but to have your winemaking certified biodynamic, it's all native yeast. You're not adding anything except a small amount of sulfur, just a very minuscule amount, but
that's
enough
a lot
to
of trust
keep
to just let that natural yeast from the air to make the wine do what it needs to do to take it to the barrel.
That can be the most challenging part. Usually, it's not with red wine so much, but the Albarino has. We've had some challenges. I was stirring barrels in December, going, "Please finish, please finish." So, but you're really getting in there, and you're getting your hands dirty, and you're putting your time and effort and your focus onto creating these
when
wines.
you put so much love into something, the product is going to be. You can tell. Going back to food, I can tell the difference when someone just makes something. It might look pretty, it might look good, but if there's no heart in it, if they're just like, here you go, this is what I was told to do. It doesn't have the same. You can tell when there's love,
yes,
in your food. And,
definitely.
Like when I cook for my family, it's like there's always I put so much love into it. It could be the same recipe that I had somewhere else, but it's going to taste different depending on who's doing it. So I encourage you guys to come to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, taste these wines, and taste the love and the energy and stubbornness that Louisa put in them to make them what they are. So congratulations, all your hard work and your level of expertise that you've brought to your beautiful wines, and we look forward to featuring them throughout the month.
Oh, thank you.
And
thank you.
we'll always have them here at the restaurant too.
All right.
So
thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That is so good.
Thank you.
Love it.